Hey guys, this is Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under, and today we're checking out the top 10 browser first-person shooter games to play in 2020 and 2021, and believe me, we have some crazy good games to get into. Before we get in, if you want the browser that I use to play all of these games in this video, then download Brave Browser for free, link in the description below. It's by far the best way to reduce lag and earn free money while you surf the web and play browser games, and if you're on mobile then you can also download it on Android or iOS. I definitely suggest downloading it, and it's also the best way to support the channel, so a big thank you to everybody that downloads using my link. But with that said, let's get straight into it and check out those browser games. Starting out at the number 10 spot, we have Forward Assault Remix, the new browser FPS from the makers of Bulletstorm. Forward Assault Remix is a straightforward game. You hop in, shoot some enemies, and have some fun. Gameplay wise, it borrows heavily from the Counter-Strike and Call of Duty playbook. But that's not to say it's bad, because it works really well, especially in modes like Gun Game, where you just need to focus on getting as many kills as possible. Getting into the game is easy, as you don't need to sign up for an account, and when you hop in, there are tons of servers and a good choice of maps and modes to choose from. Overall, Forward Assault Remix is a solid improvement on the Bullet Force formula, and is definitely worth checking out if you're into the original, or if you're into games like Call of Duty or Counter-Strike. Polyblicky is a new browser FPS by the same developer who made War Attack and Rush Team. This game goes in a very different direction than the two games before it, graphically going down the Roblox/bad business path with the look of blocky characters. This works well as Polyblicky is easy to run, but also helps put the focus on the gameplay, which is the big highlight in this title. Snapping movement combined with fast and frantic combat works wonders, and the ability to swap weapons in-game via menu means matches don't get boring. While playing, you can definitely see bits of War Attack and Rush Team shine through, but that's not a bad thing, as those games are great as well. Polyblicky is still though a very new game, hence why it's lower on this list, or higher, whatever you want to say. But there is a ton of potential, and I just can't wait to see some more content added to this game to really bring more people in. Mini Royale 2 is a bit unique in the realm of browser FPS games, being the only Battle Royale game that we're featuring today. Now, no doubt this game is straight up Battle Royale. Hop into a lobby and destroy everybody to win, but Mini Royale 2 has a few things that mixes it up. The first is that you can choose your initial armor, choosing between level 1 body armor, level 1 head armor, a backpack or a stim pack, and that gives you some tactical choices before you even hop into the match. Now when the game starts, of course you can pick up high level armor, better weapons and attachments for your weapons too, the standard Battle Royale affair. Now there's only 10 or so people in each lobby, so games are quick to get into and also quick to finish, but still have those nail-biting moments in the intense 1v1 situations. Overall, Mini Royale 2 is a sweet FPS and by far the best Battle Royale browser game out there, so make sure to go and check it out. Next up, we have the new game from the developers of the previously mentioned Mini Royale 2, that being Venge.io. Venge goes in a completely different direction than Mini Royale 2, being a class-based objective shooter with a focus on abilities and 2v2 action. Despite being very different, it works quite well, with there currently being 2 playable characters who each have their own abilities. There's also an in-game leveling up system where every few kills or so you can choose to upgrade an ability, which adds an extra element to the gameplay. The general gameplay itself though is great. Fast time to kill, fast movements, and just general chaos. You're hopping around the map, you go around a corner, bang bang bang, someone gets taken down. It is really cool. Now the 2v2 aspect makes getting into games really easy, as you only need 4 people to have a really solid game, and the objective game modes ensures finding enemies isn't too difficult because they get funneled towards one point of the map. Now please note that Venge hasn't been out for quite a while, so the amount of characters, maps and modes are a little bit lacking, but overall it is a really solid game and definitely worth a check out if you're into Paladins, Overwatch and so on. Since we previously talked about Polyblicky, let's talk about the game that came before it, Rush Team. If you think old school military first person shooters, Rush Team is that. Very much in line with Crossfire, Wolf Team, and games like that, with less emphasis on animations and more so just pure gameplay. The real big emphasis is on the gameplay itself. Getting into the game itself, everything is solid but not particularly flashy. The graphics are rolled, the animations are okay, but the pure mechanics are quite fun, and sniping people with a bolt action sniper rifle is really enjoyable. Then you go and add in the maps and the modes, in particular these huge 16 player lobbies where chaos is everywhere, and 16 players on a browser game is very cool. While it might not be the absolute best FPS on this list, it brings me back to when free-to-play first-person shooter games were simpler, and it's a nice feeling to go and experience again, maybe a little bit nostalgic for me. And especially given that this game still has a really substantial player base and many high-ranking players, so if you like the look of it, you know this game is going to be around for a while. It's fun, active, and really easy to get into. What more can you ask for? I have to admit that originally I completely wrote off Shell Shockers because I just thought it wasn't that good of a game. The cartoony graphics really put me off. However, after sinking some time into Shell Shockers, I think it's easy to say that this is a really unique first-person shooter that you should really check out. Obviously, the first thing that hits you is the graphics, with the characters being large eggs, but this affects the gameplay as hitboxes are huge and there is no headshots. You would think this would be to the detriment of the gunplay, but it actually works really well, as the different classes are very much limited to their specific ranges, as each gun has insane spread. Now, for example, the submachine gun is great in close range, but because of the spread, it's impossible to kill at even medium range, and there's no hope at long range. Contrast that with the bolt action sniper rifle, which can be a one-shot kill, but you need to be standing still and scoped in for a second or two for the accuracy to be 100%. Each class has their own very distinct strengths and weaknesses, and none are good at all ranges, and this is something that I haven't seen in very many games. For example, let's take Krunker.io. The Trigger Man with his AK-47, fantastic at close, medium, and long range. A jack of all trades, master at basically everything. The same with the Sniper Rifle, great at close, medium, and long range. Compare it to Shell Shockers, the SMG only good at close range, the shotgun only good at close range, the sniper rifle only good at long range, and the assault rifle kind of only good at medium range, maybe okay at close range, but each class is really box limited to their specific range, and that means you have to be smart in this game. You gotta go for flanks with certain classes. Your positioning matters a lot more, and you can't just rely on pure aim. So this is a lot more about your tactics than it might seem, and it's a really big breath of fresh air. Overall, I definitely recommend checking Shell Shockers out. Look past the graphics, get in game, try out the different classes, and you'll see that the gameplay mechanics and the movement and how everything works is actually pretty cool, and the modes that you can play are very interesting too. The first of two amazing browser ports in this list. Quake.js is a straight port of the classic arena FPS, Quake. It works incredibly well. It retains every ounce of the original gameplay and runs pretty well too, mostly due to those 90s graphics. This game, however, doesn't have the most active player base, given it's separate to the real Quake, and hence why it's a little bit higher on this list, but it's one of those games where you can easily host a server in 2 clicks and have a party session with your friends. If you haven't tried Quake before, then I highly suggest to go and do so. Krunker.io is most definitely inspired by this game with its slide hopping and all that, and Quake is just one of the most important first-person shooters of all time, so really, go try it out, go play it with your friends. I really think you won't regret it. One of the most impressive browser games I've ever played is CS Online Club, a complete browser port of the classic Counter-Strike 1.6. When I first heard about this game, I thought it wasn't true, but indeed it is, and crazily enough, it runs incredibly well on the browser. Gameplay-wise, it's identical to Counter-Strike 1.6, the only real difference being a simple but sufficient server browser allowing you to join games easily. I won't talk about the gameplay much because everybody knows Counter-Strike. It's one of those quintessential shooters that everybody needs to play, be it 1.6, Source, or Counter-Strike Global Offensive. But this version, it is one of the more older ones, so if you're a younger viewer and haven't tried this out, definitely go and have a try. On top of all of that, CS Online Club has an active community, really active community, quite good player base, and it's one of those dark horses. It's a game that I never really knew existed, but now that I know exists, I'm going to be recommending it more because it's one of those games you really need to check out. Merc Zone is a fantastic and simple browser FPS, stripping back things to the basics and doing them very well. Graphically, the game is similar to that of Superhot. Stylized graphics that really show off the gameplay and keep the system requirements low. Gameplay wise, it's fantastic. Shooting and movement mechanics are on point and has some weight behind it, which is a feeling you don't get with browser FPS games. When you go and fire these guns, the animations, the sounds, they really go and hit you, and it makes it feel like a true shooter. In terms of the classes, the game has it simple. 5 different classes to choose from with widely different weapons. It gives a spice of variety that really pushes the gameplay in a great direction because of course you have your standard assault rifle, but then you've got these dual pistols that do a ton of damage, a shotgun for close range, and then out of nowhere just a massive minigun too, so really play into lots of different play styles. Merc Zone is one of those games where it gives me that kind of Halo vibe because the cursor's a little bit lower, the camera angle's a little bit lower, and you can just rush up right in people's faces, do a lot of damage, and you get a lot of satisfaction from getting those kills. Overall, Merc Zone is a fantastic browser FPS, and for a relatively new game, it secured quite a high position, so I can't wait to see what happens to this game next. Our first honorable mention for today is Superhot, which is one of the most unique shooters out there. The concept is simple. When you move, time goes at normal speed. Stop moving and time freezes, which allows you to line up some insane shots to take the enemies out. Graphically, it's simple but fantastic and fits perfectly with the stylized gameplay, and it's truly a great match. Now, the version I'm talking about here is not the full Steam game, which I definitely suggest to check out, by the way, if you have some spare cash. But what I'm actually talking about is the prototype, which is playable in the browser. This game was made for a conference, it doesn't have too many levels, and the full game is definitely the more complete package, but if you want some quick fun, and if you just want to go and try out what Superhot is, then this browser version is definitely recommended for you, and it does have some great replayability, trying to go and master the levels, so go and check it out, link in the description below. While technically not a first-person shooter, I had to quickly mention one of the best Fortnite-like games out there, that being 1v1.lol. This game is all about the core ideas of building and shooting with none of the fluff. No vehicles, not even points of interest, just a blank arena that you spawn in until one person or team is the victor. You're armed with a shotgun, assault rifle, and sniper rifle, and you can build all the shapes that you can in Fortnite. And yeah, it does kind of feel like you're playing the real thing when you look purely at the mechanics. There's also a 1v1 mode, a ranked mode, and a free build mode, so while on the surface it looks like a fancy aim train, it actually is quite solid to go and play individually. There's also a significant player base, and hopping into matches takes no time at all, so make sure to go and check it out if it piques your interest. We all knew what was going to get the #1 spot, and that's Krunker.io. Not only one of the best browser first-person shooters, but one of the best browser games out there right now. I've got a million videos on this game already, so check them out with the playlist in the top right hand corner and the link in the description below. But Krunker.io is a class-based first-person shooter that has the best movement mechanics of any first-person shooter out right now, and some insane shooting mechanics to boot. The game has gone from strength to strength lately, and with Season 4 and a Steam release around the corner, the game is going to explode. I may be biased, but it's one of the best games out there in my opinion, and that's why it's taking the #1 spot. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button right now, and subscribe for more videos on free-to-play games. But other than that, this is Undercover Dudes, all the way from Down Under, out.